We all know trading, right? Big risks, even bigger rewards, the whole rags to riches thing. But today, we're ditching that flashy facade.
Yeah, we're going deeper.
We're diving into a side of trading people don't talk about that much. The psychological pressure, the mental side of it, how it impacts like every single decision you make.
It's like, peeling back the layers, right?
Yeah.
The bravado.
Mm-hmm.
And really exploring, like, what's the human cost of all of this?
Exactly. So we're using this source, trading, mental health and anxiety in the trenches.
And what's cool about it is that it goes way beyond just like charts and algorithms. It's really about the mental toll, the actual like human impact of trading.
Yeah, and this isn't like, some get-rich-quick guy.
No.
This dives straight into the nitty-gritty.
Into trenches.
It's a psychological battlefield out there, right?
Mhm.
Your money and your sanity are on the line constantly.
Oh, yeah. And this deep dive, what's so fascinating about it is it's relevant even if you've never, like, traded a stock in your life.
Really?
Yeah, because these principles we're going to uncover, they apply to any high-stakes situation,
yeah.
right? Anytime you're making decisions under pressure.
That's a good point. So, like, what are we going to uncover today?
Well, we're going to look at how anxiety just straight up warps your decisions when you're trading.
Okay.
We're going to look at the challenges that are specific to traders.
Got it.
And then, most importantly, practical strategies to manage this whole pressure cooker environment.
I like it. And this source, it doesn't hold back, does it?
Oh, no. No sugarcoating here.
They actually call trading a psychological slaughterhouse. Kind of intense, right?
Intense, but accurate. There was a study in 2023. 68%, a staggering 68% of active traders experience like full-on symptoms of clinical anxiety.
Wait. 68%? That's more than like just pre-trade jitters, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. That's double the rate of the general population.
Double. Wow. So clearly something's going on here. What is it about trading specifically that just breeds this anxiety?
Well, trading is unpredictable by nature. Like it just is. You're constantly operating on uncertainty. Yeah, there's a potential for these huge wins, right?
Right.
But that potential for devastating losses, it's right there too. And it's that constant pressure. Like you're betting on your own judgment.
It's almost like your self-worth is tied to like every little market fluctuation, right?
Right.
The source talks about this guy, Jake M. He was a day trader. Turned $50,000 into $1.2 million, like 6 months.
Wow.
But then
Uh-oh.
market shifted.
Yeah, what happened?
He lost almost everything.
Oh, man.
Like 90% of his winnings, chasing that, elusive next big win.
Yeah.
He describes it as just relentless anxiety, couldn't sleep, obsessed with checking the markets constantly. It was even like in his dreams.
It's heavy. It makes you wonder if we're even meant to handle this kind of, this roller coaster of risk and reward.
It seems like too much for like the human brain to process.
You're hitting a key point there. Our brains, right, they're not designed for these constant ups and downs. That level of intensity, we're not meant to process it like that.
Yeah.
And this is where things get, really interesting. Anxiety, it's not just like a feeling.
Oh, okay.
It changes how your brain actually functions.
Really?
Yeah. So it actually sabotages your ability to make good decisions.
Wow. So it's not just like a feeling in your stomach. It actually changes how you think.
Exactly. It's physiological.
Yeah.
When you're stressed, the activity in your brain shifts.
Okay.
It moves away from the prefrontal cortex, which is the, logic and planning part.
So smart part.
Yeah, exactly. And it activates the amygdala. That's the emotional, reactive part of the brain. So you're switching from thoughtful, careful analysis to basically fight or flight mode.
Oh, wow. So you could have like a solid plan going in, but then anxiety just takes the wheel and drives you right off a cliff.
That's exactly what happens. MIT did research on this. Stress traders, 40% more likely to make a totally impulsive decision.
Oh, wow.
Like just completely abandon their strategy.
They just lose it.
They're reacting, not thinking. The source talks about Maria S. She's a Forex trader. Held a position during this big market drop.
Okay.
And instead of, sticking to her plan, anxiety just took over. Panicked. Bought at the dip. Sold at the absolute bottom.
Yeah.
Lost a ton of money in, like, no time.
So how much are we talking?
$80,000 a week.
Oh my gosh. So like even the pros, even if you've been doing this for years, you can still fall prey to these anxiety-driven decisions.
Absolutely.
And it's not even just like the big dramatic losses, right? It's like the everyday grind, the constant data, the fear of missing out.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be
It's
exhausting.
mentally draining. It's like this low-grade fever that just never breaks.
Right. So we've established anxiety is a big problem in the trading world. Novices, pros, everyone. But what can you actually do about it? Telling someone to, like, just relax in the middle of a market meltdown.
Right. And
That's not helpful advice.
not at all. But that's where this source, it gets really good.
Okay, good.
It moves past just describing the problem. It gives you actual strategies, ways to manage this pressure.
I'm listening. So what can traders actually use? What are the tools to, like, stay composed when everything's going crazy?
Well, one of the most effective things, honestly, is just creating structure.
Structure.
Yeah, because anxiety, it thrives on uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
So if you have clear trading rules, limits, it's like setting boundaries for your emotions.
Oh, interesting. So, like, setting a limit on how much you can lose each day, or, like, knowing exactly when you're going to exit a trade before you even enter it.
Exactly. Take the emotion out of it.
I like it.
The author uses Paul Tudor Jones as an example. He's this, hedge fund legend.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
He has this 10% monthly drawdown rule. If he loses 10% of his capital in a month, he stops trading.
Like, full stop.
No exceptions. It forces discipline, prevents you from making emotional decisions when things go bad.
That's smart. You just take yourself out of the equation. And speaking of taking yourself out of the equation, the source talks a lot about controlling your information.
Oh, yeah.
Constantly checking the news, social media, those crazy chat rooms.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It's anxiety overload.
Absolutely. And there's actually research on this. University of Chicago. Traders who, significantly cut back on their social media, their stress markers went down 25%.
Wow.
Like measurably calmer.
So, like, even just logging off Twitter can make a difference.
It could make a huge difference.
They actually mentioned Jake M again. Remember the day trader who lost it all?
Yeah.
He said when he stopped refreshing X, Twitter,
Ah, yeah.
his trading actually got better. Without all that noise, he could finally think straight.
Makes sense.
So it's about being really intentional about the information you let into your head, especially, when you're trading.
100%. Cultivating a calm mental space, even when, the market's going haywire.
Okay, so structure, information control, that's 2. What else?
Well, they also talk about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
Okay, that sounds very like therapist's couch.
It does.
But how does that actually help traders?
So CBT is all about recognizing negative thought patterns.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And changing them.
Okay.
So in trading, that's really valuable because you're going to have losses. It's inevitable.
Right.
So it's about how you reframe those losses, manage the self-defeating thoughts, because those can really creep in.
So instead of seeing a loss as like a personal failure, you learn to see it as like data, something you can learn from.
Exactly. It informs your future decisions. And there are studies on this too. In 2022, there was one showing traders using CBT. Their anxiety scores dropped 30% in 3 months.
That's a huge drop. 30%. Wow.
It's significant.
The source brings up Maria S. again, the Forex trader, remember?
Yeah.
Panicked during the market drop.
Yeah.
So she started using these CBT techniques, started logging her trades, analyzing why she made every single decision, win or lose. It helped her break free from those, emotional reactive patterns.
Yeah. It's a great example of how CBT can be applied practically to actually improve your performance.
So it's not just about changing your thoughts, it's about changing your habits and routines too.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got structure, information control, CBT. Anything else?
Oh, yeah. One more big one. The source highlights this. Physical health.
Physical health. What does that have to do with trading?
The mind-body connection. It's crucial,
Uh-huh.
especially when it comes to stress and anxiety.
Okay.
Sleep,
Okay.
diet, exercise.
Got it.
These aren't just, nice to haves. These are essential for your brain to function properly.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense, but like, why are they so important specifically for trading?
Okay, so the source breaks it down. Stanford research found that if you get less than 6 hours of sleep, it negatively impacts your reaction time.
Oh, that makes sense.
And exercise, proven to reduce cortisol, the stress hormone.
Okay.
So it's not just about feeling good, it's about thinking clearly.
Right, so taking care of your body actually leads to better decisions when you're trading.
Exactly. You're creating a strong foundation for yourself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. We've talked about, how common anxiety is in trading, why it's such a high-pressure environment, and we've started talking about strategies to manage the stress.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this first part, I want to talk about this big idea the source brings up. They say that trading itself doesn't actually create anxiety. It just exposes what's already there.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's really at the heart of why this topic is so important.
Yeah, because it's like it reframes the whole thing. Instead of anxiety being something to be scared of or a reason to quit, it becomes an opportunity for self-reflection and like personal growth.
Exactly.
So we shouldn't run from it, we should lean into it.
They actually cite a study showing that 73% of traders who have, like, chronic anxiety, they already had triggers.
Hmm.
Things from their past, like maybe childhood insecurities or job loss, trauma.
Wow. So this is about way more than just like learning to trade better. It's about understanding yourself better.
100%.
Mm.
And they say that the most successful traders, the ones who can handle the ups and downs, they're not fearless.
Okay.
They're just really good at managing their fear.
So it's not about being emotionless, it's about being in control of your emotions.
They acknowledge that anxiety is part of the game. It's inevitable,
Right.
but they've learned how to control it instead of letting it control them.
I could see how that would be a game changer, especially in a field like this.
Oh, yeah.
So how do they do that? How do they get that control?
Well, it starts with understanding their strengths and weaknesses, like really deep down. They know what situations make them anxious, and they have plans, strategies to deal with those moments.
So it's like having a pre-flight checklist, but for your emotions.
Exactly.
Before you even enter a trade, you've already thought about, what could happen. You've identified your weak points. You're ready.
That's the difference between the amateurs and the pros. The source has another quote from Paul Tudor Jones. He says, "Trading tests your psyche as much as your strategy. Master both or neither."
Ooh, that's a good one. That really hits home. So we've covered a lot today, the psychological toll, the impact of anxiety on decisions. We've even started to touch on some practical tools.
Yeah.
But what does this all mean for, the average person listening? What's the takeaway here?
I think the big thing to remember is this. Mental health, it's just as important as technical skills when it comes to trading. It's not just some soft skill, it's the foundation.
So it's not just about the mechanics of trading, it's about building the resilience to actually handle it, right?
Exactly. It's like if you're trying to build a house on a foundation of sand, doesn't matter how beautiful it is, it's not going to last.
Right. The foundation has to be strong.
And the second thing to remember is anxiety isn't a weakness. It's just a human response to uncertainty, to risk. And in the trading world, it's something you can manage, even master, if you have the right tools, the right strategies.
So instead of trying to eliminate it completely, which probably isn't even possible,
Right.
it's about learning to use it to your advantage.
Exactly. But how do you do that? How do you turn anxiety from an enemy into an ally? So how do you do that? How do you turn anxiety from an enemy into an ally?
That's a good question.
It starts with recognizing those early warning signs. Like when your emotions are starting to take over.
Okay, yeah.
And then you can use the techniques we talked about. Structure, information control, CBT, physical health. Bring yourself back to that place of calm.
So being self-aware, having a plan to deal with those moments when anxiety is about to, take the wheel.
Exactly. The goal isn't to become some, emotionless robot.
Right.
It's about becoming a more resilient trader, more self-aware, someone who can handle those ups and downs without letting their emotions, completely derail their decisions.
Staying calm under pressure, making rational decisions, even when everything's going haywire. That's a valuable skill.
Oh, yeah. And not just for trading, either.
Right. It applies to, everything.
Think about entrepreneurs, CEOs, athletes.
Everyday life, even.
Absolutely. Anyone who's dealing with challenges, stress, understanding how your mind works under pressure, that's incredibly valuable.
It's like building that mental toughness to handle anything.
Exactly.
This source, they leave us with a pretty powerful image. They say the market is a meat grinder, and you're either the butcher or the beef.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's intense.
It is, but it's a good reminder. The market, it's a force to be reckoned with.
You don't want to mess with it.
But it's also a challenge, right?
Yeah.
Step into your power. Become the master of your own destiny. Control your emotions, control your decisions, control your outcomes.
Okay, so how do we make sure we're the butcher and not the beef? How do we actually thrive in that kind of environment?
That's the question, isn't it? And it comes back to that idea of self-awareness. The source makes a point that the most successful traders, they're the ones who know themselves as well as they know the market.
Interesting. So they're not just studying charts all day.
No, they're studying themselves too. They know their biases, their triggers, their strengths, their weaknesses. and they use that knowledge to create a trading style that works for them.
So it's like a personalized approach to trading, taking into account like your own psychology.
Exactly. They're not trying to fit into some mold of, like, this is what a good trader looks like. They're making their own path.
Playing the game on their own terms.
Exactly. But there's still that issue of emotions, right?
Oh, yeah. How do you deal with that? Especially in a field like trading where it can be so, like, emotional.
Well, you don't try to shut down your emotions completely. That's probably impossible anyway.
Okay, yeah.
It's about using those emotions. They're information. Don't let them dictate your decisions, but use them to inform your decisions.
So instead of, like, trying to shut down our emotions completely, which is probably impossible anyway, we need to learn to read them. Like, understand what they're telling us.
Yeah, think of it like this. You know you get impulsive when you're stressed, right? So maybe you build in like a cooling off period
Okay.
before making any big trades. Or say you're prone to FOMO, that fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You could set really strict rules, like when you enter a trade, when you exit.
So you're not chasing every hot stock.
Exactly. It's like having this set of rules
Right.
that protect you from yourself,
Yeah.
from your own biases.
I like that. So you're creating a system that's actually aligned with your psychology, your own strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. And it's not like, set it and forget it.
Right.
You've got to keep evaluating it,
Yeah.
refining it, based on what's happening, what you're
The
learning.
market's always changing.
Yeah. And we need to adapt, too.
But the one thing that stays the same, the one thing we can control, is our mindset.
That's where the power is.
It's kind of empowering, right? Even in something as crazy as trading, we still have some control.
You always have control over your mind.
At the end of the day, trading, it really is a mental game. Mastering your emotions, knowing how much risk to take, making clear decisions, even when the pressure's on.
And those skills, they go way beyond trading.
We've said it like a million times already, but it's true.
Yeah, it applies to everything.
Entrepreneurs, CEOs,
Athletes.
regular people,
Doesn't matter.
dealing with everyday stuff, staying calm, focused, resilient, that's essential.
It's what separates, the people who succeed from the people who don't.
So as we wrap up this whole deep dive into trading and mental health, I keep thinking about that image.
The meat grinder.
Yeah, the butcher or the beef.
It's a good one. Because it reminds you, you have a choice.
Right.
You can be the one in control, making smart decisions, managing your risk, or you can get caught up in the emotion of it all and basically get chewed up.
So for anyone listening who's maybe feeling a little overwhelmed by all this, what's the first step to becoming the butcher? Where do you even begin?
Start with yourself. Self-awareness. Take some time to figure out your own, emotional landscape. What makes you anxious?
Okay.
What are you good at? What are you not so good at? How do you react when things get tough?
Okay, yeah.
Once you know that, you can start building a system.
A trading system.
Or just a life system, really.
Yeah.
That plays to your strengths,
Yep.
helps you manage your weaknesses, invest in your mental health.
Yeah.
Build that resilience. And remember, the most important lessons you learn, whether it's in the market or in life, they're usually the ones about understanding yourself.
That's it for our deep dive today. Hope this was helpful, maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Yeah, and remember, no matter what you're facing, you always have a choice.
Choose to be resilient. Choose to grow. Choose to be the butcher.